I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. This week, are you satisfied with transparency in the federal government?
No, I think the government's been quite transparent about that, in my mind, anyway.
I guess it's hard as a government to be fully transparent about everything they do.
I think they have tried to keep us well informed.
I mean, this has all been evolving so quickly.
Transparency from the federal government is something many people find important, especially in times like this. During past elections, political parties have run their entire campaigns on the promise of being upfront with the people. So we ask Canadians if they're seeing enough openness and clarity these days. Our question: are you satisfied with transparency in the federal government?
I would presume to know when there's been transparency or there hasn't. So when I see articles or things about people saying, oh, we want to know how this was done, or there's been, I mean, this has all been evolving so quickly that, a lot of stuff will only be transparent. They'll only be looking into it after the fact. So I don't make the assumption that there's been things deliberately hidden. I suspect that there have been, for the sake of expediency and political reasons as well, but that's not my default perspective on it.
Yes. Not the provincial. Federal, yes.
No. I think the whole we thing needs to be much more transparent. We need to know what really went on there.
Yeah, I would say so. How they handled it. I think the government was very transparent. I think there's an issue when the pandemic first started over face masks, right? I get the argument that they're saving it for healthcare workers, but it's kind of a big blunder on their side, because I think that has driven a lot of conspiracies about it as well. But for the most part, I think the Canadian government has done a really fine job. Same with the provincial governments too. I think it's pretty impressive how in Manitoba, getting 100, 200 cases and shutting down is seen as reasonable, while in the United States, in like North South Dakota, there's thousands of people getting it and they won't even wear a mask, right? Because the governors won't even say wear a face mask. So I think the government in Canada has been highly transparent.
Not really, but again, I guess it's hard as a government to be fully transparent about everything they do.
I don't think I'm satisfied with the transparency of the federal government. I feel like we should know more about what's going on from the federal government and their perspective on these issues.
No. I definitely think there's some things going on. I think they knew about this, and I believe that they need to hold China accountable for this. Closing the border with the UK on this new strain, and the fact that we didn't close our borders in March to China and other countries, I think it's sad, and someone needs to be held accountable for it.
I would say that they've done a pretty good job. I think that that's another question that I really just don't know the answer to. I'm not in tune enough with my politics, and I actually try and kind of maybe keep myself a little bit further out of that because I have the ability to here on this island. But I think that they're doing what they can, and I think that it's really hard again to gauge with everybody is so different. A lot of people, they take fear really seriously, and it really affects the way that they live their lives. So I think that that's a huge thing they have to take into account with letting people know certain things. But I think that they're doing the best that they can, the same as everybody else. So.
Yeah, I think so. Again, you're hearing about the constant messaging about, that the vaccine is the number of vaccines that are going, the administration of it, how long it takes to actually, be able to administer that, the prioritization. And again, I'm hearing all the time, every time I hear anything about a vaccine, it is reassuring that everyone is going to get one. So it's just a matter of time. And respecting the fact that there's some people that are more susceptible and just more at risk. And so obviously they're to be first, which I'm okay with. I certainly can understand that and will respect that for sure. So no, I think the government's been quite transparent about that, in my mind anyway. You can go on their website, there's information about that. It's on the news all the time. So I mean, I think they're doing a good job.
Not really, but that's the way government works.
And you would like to know what more would you like to know?
I'd like to know when I'm going to get my vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not following the vaccine issue as closely as I was following the guidelines in terms of restrictions and the number of cases and so on. But overall, from everything I can understand, I'm satisfied with the way things are rolling out, particularly in PEI, and I think nationally Canada's probably in better shape than some other countries, but PEI in particular seems to be handling everything pretty well.
I believe so. Yeah, I think they're being fairly transparent and keeping people aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have tried to keep us well informed.
My opinion out of the government and how they're handling everything and everything that's happened, I'm quite pleased. It's the first time in my life I can say that I feel like the government is actually looking out for the best of us. And they are listening to the masses when the doctors are saying this is what you got to do. They are listening. They are not just looking at the money value or the effects on our economy and those aspects. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with our government.
I don't know. They tell us stuff. Is that everything? Who knows? I don't know. I think we hear more than other places. I don't have a big problem with it, I guess. I don't trust anybody. Let me get that clear.
Even though there's been a delay in our vaccine supply, the fact that some Canadians already received their shots brings some hope and optimism that the other side of COVID-19 will soon be in our sights. We talk to Canadians about when they think we can finally kick this pandemic to the curb. Our question:
when do you predict the pandemic will finally end?
I would hope by, let's say, the fall. Hopefully most people would be immunized, and if not, by the end of this year anyway. I'm hoping once the all the sites get up and running for vaccinations, it gets smoother.
And completely, I would say, I'm really hoping by fall term this year of university, so September. I hope by September that this pandemic will be over as much as possible.
Well, I'm hoping by the fall of 2021. I could run a little longer than that, but I hope the worst of it will be over by then.
I don't know. I guess that depends on how you define end. I mean, the pandemic would finally end when in a numeric way, right? They must have some sense of what that means. But if you're talking about how my life will go back to normal, I don't really know. I certainly wouldn't expect this to be, I wouldn't expect our lives to return to what we might consider close to normal for, I don't know, probably by the end of this year. But I wouldn't really know.
That's a tough question. I think this summer we'll get a bit of a relief, but I still feel like next fall we're going to see a third wave. Yeah, tough to say.
When do I predict or when do I hope? When I predict, I guess this summer, I suppose. Yeah, depending on... Yeah, I mean, I'd hope this summer, but I mean, with everybody out and about, a lot of people are still... With the holidays, it seems like every time there's a holiday or any type of gathering, the numbers seem to spike, so I'm not sure they'll be low enough to fully be able to close or to open fully. So, yeah, it depends what their rationale is on that.
Boy, I think this pandemic is going to go on longer than we think. Into 2022 for sure. Excuse me. Yeah, it's going to be a while. Even with the slow rollout of this vaccination program, they got to ramp that up quicker. And even then, with variants and everything that are coming out, we still don't know if the vaccines are going to be effective against variants. So it's going to be a while.
I think it'll be a couple years. I don't think it's anytime soon.
Next spring, depending on how many more vaccines get approved and how fast the program is. I would say latest I would shoot for, I guess, fall 2021, or no, 2022. So, what am I trying to say? Yeah, fall 2022, I think, could be the latest, but we'll see.
That's a fantastic question. I wish I will have an answer. Probably, first of all, it's up to us. And also, up to medication as soon as possible for everyone who wants it. And end of 2021. That's what I had a dream about it. End of 2021, which means around August.
I like it. Put money on August.
Well, here on Prince Edward Island, we've been very fortunate because we've been able to do the things that some of the normal things. We're able to be outside and shop, and we're praying that it'll be, over the summer, we'll be able to be normal with our pandemic, but I don't know, based on... I'm hoping, like we're within our own bubbles, that with the provinces, we've been working closely together. There's some work that needs to be done over the next few months. We're praying that it'll be normal like it was last summer, but just when you look across the country and in the world, it may not be as open as we were hoping originally.
My opinion is that the pandemic will possibly never end. It will just be a different variation of the way we do things. I think the virus will be kind of here and there, not as bad as it is now, but I think eventually we're going to get to a sense of some kind of normality, but we'll always have this virus slightly going around.
Why would you say that?
The reason I say that is because of people's ideas about the virus. If everybody realized that it is true and did everything that we needed to do and not think about themselves, and think about that it's a conspiracy and all these things, we're going to have these little pockets of the pandemic still going around for a while until everybody really buys into it.
You're talking about anti-maskers.
Anti-maskers and people that think it's a conspiracy and those kind of philosophies are really putting, and the self-centeredness of people that live in a great world that we do, like Canada, that people think it's not going to happen to me, or, oh well, I'm just going to go out. Those kind of things are going to keep it going, but in small amounts.
It'll go on through 2021 until the vaccine has been taken by the vast majority of people. Yeah, I think it'll be returning to normal in I'd say a year. This time next year, things would be not like this right now. I'm hoping, yeah. No masks and all that, yeah.
Oh, I think we're in it for a while yet. I think we'll be in it for at least the end of this year for sure.
Why do you say it's going to be that long?
I think it's going to take a long time before we can roll out the vaccines. And I'm thinking more not so much PEI, but I'm thinking more larger scale. And if you look at other provinces, how regardless of the messaging of staying home, we see the numbers still going up. So that's a bit discouraging.
That's a really great question, really hard to answer. I don't think it's going to end soon. I think fall, at least, some of us will be vaccinated. Maybe most, hopefully. I think that's what it'll take. And we should continue doing what we're doing, and it looks like we're social distancing here.
Right.
So that's good.
I would like to think that we'd be in much better shape by the end of 2021.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm hoping that by then the majority of us will have been vaccinated.
Oh, I'll give it another year.
Another year?
I would say another year.
Why would you say a year?
The vaccine is slow being rolled out, and it's going to take a while to get to everybody.
I bet you in 2023.
And why do you think that's a long time?
Yeah, but they're going to take a while to get the vaccine all the way around.
When did the Order of Canada come into existence? Was it 1947, 1957, or 1967? The answer is 1967. The Order of Canada is how our country honors distinguished service by Canadians from every region and walk of life. In 1967, Canada's centennial year, the organization was instituted by Queen Elizabeth II on the advice of Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson. Appointments are awarded at 3 levels: Companion, which recognizes national or international service or achievement; Officer, which recognizes national service or achievement; and Member, which recognizes outstanding contributions at the local or regional level or in a special field of activity. Since 1967, more than 7,000 people have been invested in the order.
These days, the way people communicate and share information has changed dramatically. Tools like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are a huge part of that. Political parties have also been using social media to help them reach out to the voting public. And it's changed the ballgame in terms of elevating the conversation. So we took this question to you.
Has social media influenced how you follow politics?
Because of social media, I am more interested and more informed about things that are going on in federal politics. I'm blessed to have a lot of very intelligent friends that will put things out. Some things I might agree with, some things I perhaps might be suspicious of, but it always causes me to look more deeply into what my friends are concerned about.
Actually, oddly enough, I'm one of the, millennials that's not on social media. I'm a young 30-year-old person, and I just am not on social media. I believe that social media, though, is positive and negative. We all have to be aware of where we're getting our news and our facts from.
I've always kind of had the same political opinions just based on the best climate action plan, because that's pretty important for our future.
The same for me. Like, I'm not researching politics always and looking at them, but yeah, definitely just what's best environmentally and for the climate.
Yeah, I don't really think that social media has influenced my opinions at all, but...
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
As far as social media affecting me, I actually personally don't use social media. I don't post things.
I mean, probably. I think it'd be naive to say no. I guess the good thing about it is it allows you to connect with people very immediately, and like people in representative politics, like you can kind of tweet at them, and like that's kind of open. So, but like before, for example, if you just emailed a politician, nobody really knows if they pay any attention to you, if they email you back. But if you like tweet at a politician, I feel like they're more likely to answer because everybody can see that you've asked them something and that they've ignored it. So I guess I've always kind of followed politics, but yeah, maybe social media changes like how those interactions happen. I'm not entirely sure if the positives outweigh the negatives. I know like there are these issues like of like an echo chamber where you follow people you agree with and you see their stances and they're much like yours and you become more kind of ingrained in your own way of thinking. But yeah, it's definitely changed the way people interact, I think, with politicians and with each other online.
Oh, definitely. Social media is everything these days. It affects how everybody follows politics, right? So it's definitely changed the landscape for politics in general, yeah.
No, it just makes me mad. I just cannot be bothered with that end of things. I like to read articles and get informed on my own. People's opinions on Twitter and Facebook are not going to put me in a direction, so mostly it just angers me.
It has to an extent. If I see that like a potential community leader is getting involved in social media, trying to reach the younger generation, like my age and younger, then yeah, it will heavily influence my my political view, yes.
Yeah, to a certain extent, of course. I mean, it seems to be a lot negative more than positive. Politics seem to focus on more of what they want people to hear instead of listening to the people. So, yeah, that's my opinion, though.
I think, in my case, minimally. I don't use a lot of social media personally. Like, I don't use Twitter or anything like that. I'll see a few tweets, stuff like that, but I still feel like I follow most of the traditional outlets for information about news, like television, newspapers, a lot of websites as well. So I don't think it influences me very much, but I think I'd probably be naive if I said it didn't influence me at least a little bit.
No, because social media is put out there. It depends on who owns the page. If someone's a Liberal supporter, they're obviously going to put out things that are going to go into the PCs, and it's the other way around. So no, I don't really use my judgments to do anything else after Facebook posts or social media.
Yeah, I would say social media is like one of my main forms where I become informed with politics. And like I've watched shows like The Social Dilemma, which talks about how social media, it's like this tailored orchestra things. They have, they have their own incentives behind it, especially like Facebook and Instagram. But I still believe like this time and age, especially someone in 20 something, like that is our main source. But I think we almost need to be educated to know that like we're in our own little bubble of social media. But I think that's the big scary part. A lot of people don't realize what comes up in their social media. We're in our little bubbles. So we got to also be educated enough that we need to, in some ways, like actively look outside of our social media to get views from other point of views.
No, not really, actually. I don't really follow politics too much, so it hasn't really influenced me at all, no. I just watch the news a little bit and keep updated that way, but not social media-wise, no.
Has the social media influenced? I mean, I do see bits and pieces of information on social media, but I'm well aware of how it's often dramatized or edited to emphasize one point or another. So you have to be careful. Unfortunately, in this day and age, even with the networks, you have to be careful on how you process your news, your information you're receiving. A lot of it this day and age, unfortunately, it's information with a preconceived notion already, and they're trying to find facts to now support that information rather than let the facts speak for themselves.
After almost 1 year, you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone who hasn't been affected by this pandemic. But it's in challenging times like this where people tend to make the best of things. And using it as a way to gain some wisdom is a good way to do that. So we took this question to Canadians.
What have you learned during COVID-19?
I have learned that the connections you make with people and the people you meet are more important than the things you do. When the people that I love get taken away from me, like not taken away from me, just I can't see them, I feel like I start to value them more and more.
I'm surprised at how many people don't trust the science behind the vaccines. That's my biggest surprise.
The thing I've learned most is that there's beauty in nature, and if you just get outside and you put away your phone, that the world's right there. You got to live more in the present, I think, and I think it also makes us realize that when we take away globalization, there's so much beauty in your backyard and with your friends and your neighbors and that sort of thing. So
I've learned I don't like working from home. It sounds better than it is.
To really appreciate time with friends and family, and to keep in mind other people and that sort of thing as well. Yeah, appreciate your time, appreciate things that you have.
That's a tough one. I guess I've learned that I value my acquaintances and friendships more than I thought I did. So being locked down has been tough.
Well, one thing I've learned, I suppose, is how much work we can do online, how much we can continue to do online, how much, I used to travel a lot, how much I don't really need to travel as much as I used to, and some of the benefits about it. And I think on the flip side of that, though, one thing I've learned is how important social interaction is, how much I've missed friends, for example, and family, and being able to interact with them. And I think that's been really exposed as well, how important that is.
I learned a lot about myself, actually, because of the pandemic. I was able to, we were all in a lockdown, so I was able to take care of myself mentally, my mental health, and learn a lot about myself that way, and also able to learn a lot more about my family because I spent a lot more time with them. So, yeah, that way too.
What have I learned during COVID-19? Oh, I guess you learn how to be happy with what you got, I guess, right? I mean, a lot of stuff's been taken away from us, but you got to be thankful for the things that you do have. I would say that.
Oh my gosh, that's a Pandora's box. I think for me, I really learned how interconnected we are, not just as people in St. John's, but also around the globe. Like how a pandemic can go from one end of the world to another end, and also how, as we at a daily level, at a personal level, we have responsibility, and also we have power to reduce the spread of it. And what we choose to do or not to do, we could possibly be actively spreading it. So really, it's scary to think that there's also a lot of power and responsibility within our own hands. But the beautiful part is that we're all connected, we're all in this together, and we gotta choose to take care of each other.
I've learned that people will look for any excuse in a book not to follow government guidelines. I've learned that in order to get ahead in this world, you need to look out for yourself, number one. And the number two thing I learned is hand sanitizer's not that bad.
I've learned that you need to really do a lot of self-care. I mean, being alone a lot, you got to know how to keep busy, how to stay in touch with people remotely. Myself, having family in New Brunswick, I always have to do it virtually. You know, ill family members as well can play a factor as well, so it's hard.
I guess I've learned that our community is pretty strong, and that there are lots of ways to build community. I work in community organizing, and we were very concerned about how we were going to pivot in the pandemic to mostly online and remote organizing, but it's actually worked out pretty well, and it's allowed us to connect with people across a larger geographical space, and meet and connect with people we wouldn't have if we were just doing our regular thing. So yeah, it was an interesting shakeup, and to be challenged about different ways to connect with people through crisis, and when you can't do the things you're used to doing, just going out and meeting with people.
That nothing is as solid as it seems. Society is held together by our cooperation at best. That we should be grateful for all we have had, that all we do have in this society, and stop complaining because you have to wear a face mask for a couple of minutes. I think I learned that we have so much to be grateful for, if I'm honest with you, sir.
We're not as prepared for a pandemic as one would think, I don't think. And I don't think wearing a mask is a big deal. I've learned that some people are going to get upset about their civil rights and issues and that kind of thing. I hear all the time, but I don't agree. I think wearing a mask is not a big deal. I wish we had known more about what we were dealing with, but that's the whole point of a pandemic, is you don't know. You learn as you go.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on the Cable Public Affairs channel. I'm Glenn McGuinness. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. It's your turn to speak up, and we're listening.